Okay, let's go into the brick breakers. Brick breakers. So we're in the Epic dev community. Epic is, of course, the one who produces Unreal Engine 5, and they're also the ones who produce Fortnite, with Fortnite currently still being the only game ever released for Unreal Engine 5. But that's not entirely true, is it? Because I've released 2 games in Unreal Engine 5, so you could say that
it's spitting rain right now.
That Colby House produced the 2nd and 3rd games in Unreal Engine 5 in the whole world, but I don't think that's true. I think other people have already released some games, but we'll see how it goes. I might be the first one who publicly publishes Brick Breakers, and if that's true, then this will be one of the first Brick Breaker games publicly released for Unreal Engine 5. See, that's kind of exciting that we're like right on the edge of technology, isn't it?
Pretty exciting that we're all pioneers here in UE5.
Yeah, and you're watching things develop. Okay, now let's read through this. And here's where I probably should turn my glasses on. There we go. Hi there, folks. I'm Samuel Bass, a tutor who has no idea how to tutor properly. Okay, and this is the first module of a beginner-oriented series that follows the development of a complete game in Unreal Engine 5. The goal here is to build something lightweight, fun, and simple while exploring the fundamentals of game dev within the Unreal Engine. Feel free to follow along, but expect headaches and nightmares and brain shards. You might learn some useful tricks or even be inspired to build a game of your own. Well, this tutor will certainly not inspire us, but I'm hoping that I will. Okay, one note before we begin. If you're entirely new to Unreal Engine, or not, we've already produced 2 games, but you can go through this. And
Evangelist and developer at Epic Games.
And just for sharts and giggles, I did go through this tutorial. You know, I do love these tutorials. I mean, I'm just watching tutorials left and right because every single one, I'm learning one thing new at least, something I didn't know before. So that really helps. It will get you up to speed on basic editor functionality in no time, making this tutorial far more fun. Okay, our game design. What kind of game are we making? This is what we're doing. Brick Breakers. It's not going to look just like this.
Oliver 1993 said, tutorials on certain ones.
That's what we're doing, essentially this. It's not, like I said, it's not going to look exactly like this, okay? Oh, he added sound effects to it too. Okay, as you might have guessed, this game, which I'm calling Brick Breakers, is an homage to an old favorite, the brick, ball, and bat genre that originated with Breakout, designed by Steve Wozniak, who was one of the co-founders of Apple, way back in the 70s. Okay, so and this is the concept. You know, these are collision walls. These have collision meshes. So, and then the ball itself is colliding. The bat, which is what we call this here, this collides. Okay, so we'll be using a lot of collision, and then of course each individual brick is colliding.
Elder Colvey House said, "Yep, haha."
It's spitting rain right now. Oh, I see. Yeah, they should say like sprinkles. Like just a little bit of rain should be sprinkles. Okay, to break it down, we want to build a game with a vertically oriented playing field with a side and top blocking walls but an open base. When he says vertically oriented playing field, he essentially means a two-dimensional playing field. So we're going to restrict movement to just 2 axes. We're not going to allow movement along the depth axis, or like I think it's actually the y-axis. I think it's going to be X and Z. Yeah, I was right. See, physics-based movement on a 2D plane, X and Z. Even though it's a 3D engine, we simply restrict all the movement to just 2 dimensions. A bat that can move horizontally, like only back and forth, okay? A set of bricks at the top of the play space. A ball that the bat launches at a velocity at the start of play. Okay, so so the ball can bounce off the bat, bricks, and walls. And then the ball will destroy bricks upon contact, scoring points. And you destroy all bricks to complete a level. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Destroyed if it falls into the area below the bat. If this happens a set amount of time, the game ends. Okay, from there we'll expand the game with a few new features, enemies, combos, tune gameplay, and wrap the whole thing in a game loop with the title screen, multiple levels, score tracking, and so on. Check out this sizzle reel of some of the fun things we can do once the basics are done. Okay, watch this. Yeah, see, there's all sorts of fun things you can do. And see, this is what I want to do with one of my levels, is rotate the bricks. We don't have to have the ball traveling that fast.
Define brick breaker.
Maybe you have to do breakout.
Elder Colvey House said, define breakout.
Ready to make many contributions. And no. Santana Moss is ready for a breakout year this year. What? Who the hell is Santana Moss? It's worth noting that everything in the video...
Dunbrain47 said, define bad teacher.
It does refer to it who wants to fuck his or his students. It refers to a teacher who gives a shitload of homework.
Bahahahavi.
A night bite.
That's really funny.
Define tutorial.
When referring to YouTube, a video that is basically how to. It can also be for a hairstyle or makeup. Yeah, everything in the video was made in the Unreal Editor, from the geometry to the visual effects and even the music. There is we can generate music. So the first step would be to get something moving on screen to build out our basic elements, the ball, bricks, and the play space until we can slot them together and form the gameplay loop described above. Once the core is stood up, the real fun can begin. The process of expanding and iterating that loop until Brick Breakers is clean, polished, and fun to play. In other words, game development. He misses a lot of periods too. It's like he's not big on punctuation. Like there should be a period here, there should be a period here. Okay, this is the framework I'm talking about. Before we dig in, I'd like to define a few basic concepts that on a high level, I'll be working within. That is a really badly constructed sentence. Okay, here's a typical, and especially for this particular architecture for this game, this is how it works. So there is the game mode.
Longest sentence in the world.
Think of it as being the overall mood and the overall settings of the game, but like one game at a time. And then the game state is a state machine that will store information in the game so that you can access that information across levels. Okay. Then there's the player controller. The player controller is the interface between
something. People fail at the written communication
and all that, and the player itself. So it includes things like the HUD, the input, and the player camera manager, like all that stuff. What he doesn't say here is that there's also a player state. Player state is another state machine that stores information about what the player is doing, and it stores it across levels.
Samuel Lama _ said, hey
Samuel Lama. So you can use the game state to store all of the information in the game, or you could split it up between the player state and the game state. We'll use both here, and I think that's the whole idea.
Samuel Lama _ welcome on in.
There's an AI controller also, but that's optional. We may or may not add enemies. Enemies seem really, really punishing, especially since you can't kill the enemies. Ooh, we should make it so you can kill the enemies. Yeah, we'll make it so you can destroy enemies. Okay, and then you actually possess...
Mr. Milk. Long
an
time.
object which becomes what you control in the game. Like in a third-person shooter, you're possessing the mannequin, and that becomes your character. Yeah, so there it is. Click here for full documentation. And there's you can't click here.
Elder Colvey House said, "Ahahaha, click here."
Oh,
And
Samuel,
there's no link for
isn't this
Hayes
Sam
here.
Anderson? There, I just
Oh,
remember.
Sam Anderson.
That's who
Hi.
it is. Sam Anderson. Remember, I think you're the one who does some art. Yeah, I think you do artwork, don't you? And I think you do digital
haha.
art. Yeah. In fact, now that I'm in game development, hey, there might be some collaboration there in the future. Who knows? Okay, let's start with the focus of any game, the player. In Unreal, a player is represented by two separate but interlinked elements. The pawn, which is going to be the bat that you move back and forth, and the player controller, which
Alright,
functions
it's
as
Sam
an
from-
interface, just
How are
like I
you
said,
doing, man?
between you and the game. The controller is where we process user input and handle aspects of the game specific to an individual player, such as camera management or UI. That sounds overwhelming. It isn't. It shouldn't be overwhelming. The player controller is between
I'm good, thanks.
you
Hope
and the
you're
game.
doing well.
If you're ready to start moving your stuff around on the keyboard, the player controller is the thing between you and what you're controlling in the game, and that's why it's called player controller. That's easy. You'll see the same structure in play when we investigate adding non-player characters further down the road. Now, let's not do that right now. Let's take a look at game mode, game instance, and some related aspects of the framework. Okay, so these are what allow us to define our game, and it determines how it functions. They're also inherent to Unreal Engine projects. If we check our World Settings tab, here it is over here, you will see that, oh, here it is. There. You'll see that every map has a default game mode that can be customized as you see fit. Let's find it. There it is right there. See, game mode override. So since this is a third-person simple demonstration, see, we're actually in BP third-person game mode. So but you can define your own custom mode, and then that overrides everything. See, the engine is fully customizable. Firstly, let's talk the game mode. This is where we define the rules of a game or level, what the default player, pawn, and controller are, how a level starts, what happens when we complete playing, that sort of thing. Game mode is also the first thing to instantiate when a map loads, making it the ideal place to handle, set up, and manage our gameplay loop. So the game mode works in tandem with the game state.
Glad to hear, doing good here too. I remember Llama with glasses avatar, right?
Yeah, I think you did have the llama. Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, Camping Snake is here.
Elder Colvey House said, "Hi at Camping Snake."
Or maybe he's not
Samuel
here.
Llama _ said, yeah, I still use that avatar.
The game mode, oh, remember, we have sounds. Feel free to use the sounds. Yeah, so he meant the game state and player state, okay, which are used for storing, processing, and syncing relevant data. See,
Camping
that's what
kitty.
and an example would be like remaining time in a multiplayer match, or in our case, it's going to be the number of lives you have left and your current score, right? Because that has to persist across the different levels. So that's where we store this stuff, the game and player states. Okay. While all this structure may feel a little too much at first, it'll save you a lot of time in the long run and is well worth setting up correctly. If nothing else, using the gameplay framework will make your life immeasurably easier if you want to create a multiplayer mode down the road. If you'd like to know more, take a look at the framework documentation. Ooh, yeah. So we're not going to look at this now, but I'm going to go through this myself later on. I missed that link before. We have to talk about a game instance, which has a very different role. While a game mode or player state is created on the level load and then discarded upon transitioning to the next, the game instance instantiates when you run your game and sticks around until you quit. This makes it the key to storing data you want to persist between levels. Let's track how a player's score would pass through the framework. So when you first load the level, the game mode polls the game instance for your current score. The game mode then updates the player state with that value.
700 points into Battle Royale.
During the play, the player state tracks and updates your score, and then the player controller displays that value via UI widget. And then when you complete a level, you have to put that information back into the players from the player state back into the game instance. And I just realized that was the bug that I had. You know, my bug that I had was that it was sucking a life every time you finish a level, and it's because I forgot to copy the number of lives from the state player back to the game state, game instance. Okay, given the simple aesthetic, the series won't be focusing that much on asset creation. That said, every 3D model has either been built directly in the Unreal Engine or uses existing geometry.
Sonicus 3 minutes said, "Hey camping."
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, he's probably just here watching. He hasn't said anything yet.
Elder Colve House said, "Thanks so much for being here too, everybody. Please stick around if you can."
Okay, we use existing, yeah, like I said, use existing geometry. So we're gonna use the tools
Herr Milkenschild sagt,
within
sneak thief.
Unreal Engine 5 to make everything. I should have used editor meshes for the bed and bricks, but because I wanted something a little more specific, I used the geometry script plugin and used them to create a dynamic mesh that you can configure and then bake it down to a static version. Oh, so that's what he did. Geometry script plugin. Well, what the hell is he talking about? Let's take a look at the plugins. Geometry script. Where? Oh, there it is. Experimental. See, I don't like it when something says experimental or beta because that just means bugs. Beta equals bugs.
Beta equals bugs. Experimental equals explosions.
And bugs. If you're interested in, no, I'm not interested. Okay. You could also use an external 3D modeling tool and import the results into your project. Use Quixel Bridge to find something that suits your needs. See, Quixel Bridge is a interesting, it goes to a video, but Quixel Bridge is like a big asset marketplace. That's what that is. Wait, now I lost my, there it is. You know what, let's pause this. I can see our stream, so let's pause it. Let's minimize that. Yeah. Voice things voiced. No, it's easy to lose your...
Samulama_dumped 500 points into mass bomb.
Yeah, mass bomb. Like experimental vaccines. Yeah, that's just, you're just asking for it. Oh. Yeah. But we're not going to use external. You can even use Sketchfab. Along those lines, I created a simple material to simplify the thing we paint detail on the 3D models in Unreal with an emissive glow to provide the classic neon video game look I'm looking for. But we'll do that at the end. We just want to get it built first, and then we can make it pretty later. if you have experience with materials, it'll be relatively self-explanatory, but I'd recommend digging into the tutorials if you'd like to experiment further. So there's a whole set of tutorials on just materials. There's so many things to learn about game development, and one is how to model assets in 3D space, how to attach textures to those models, and then how to attach materials to those models. There's a lot to game development. It is not easy, obviously. Like to build something like Red Dead Redemption 2, for example. All those, there's a lot of people involved in a project, so that way you can hire specialties. Like I'm a specialist in 3D modeling, and then they have another specialist that's in 3D animation. But then if you're doing indie game development yourself, you have to learn all the skills. So, it's not going to be a huge success like a big AAA game, but at least it'll be something that demonstrates all of your skills together. And there's plenty of people who are like their one-man development shop that's produced some really good games. Okay, let's go make a game. Here we go. We're making the game now. Okay, we got past first things first. Now we're going to do building the prototype.
Elder Calvé House said, "Here we go."
All right, let's do it. We start our game development journey and delve into actors, splines, and movement. Welcome back, folks. It's time to actually start making stuff, so let's get down to it. We're starting with a blank project template just to keep things small and simple. Okay, now remember, when he made this tutorial, he was actually in a unreleased beta version of Unreal Engine 5, and you can kind of tell just based on when he wrote this tutorial. So he's actually in the earliest experimental version of Unreal Engine 5. Okay, so just to keep things small and simple, the create project menu, note the blank project, various settings directory. You don't have to replicate my settings, but it's good to know they exist. We're actually going to turn ray tracing on. Okay, new project, here we go. It's called Tiny Game 3. Let's turn on ray tracing. Okay, we're going to use what he used. He's using blank. And we're going to focus on blueprints. It's not going to be a C++ project. Let's do blueprints. And he said the quality preset scalable. He chose maxima, but let's choose scalable.
I don't think I made the alpha version scalable. Had performance issues.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do it scalable this time. We're going to create a blank project. Sure. There we go. That was just a sandbox. Okay, now we are creating our new project for the first time. Tiny Game 3. There it is. Ooh. Yeah, so it starts us out with this silly, with a silly little, we said blank project, but it still gives us starter content. But we're going to use that starter content because I want some of the bricks to have this cool copper material. I like that copper material. Now notice that we also have some ray tracing happening here. Yeah, and we don't have like a third-person player or anything, so if we press play, all we get is just a movable camera. We can move right through. Oh, we can't. The camera is colliding with the chair. See, look. Nice. And it's also colliding with Conflipadoodle. Oh, that's coming from here. Yeah. But I don't know why it's still doing... Oh, because we're in the game. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, ambient sound. Okay, got it. Okay, let's go back to the tutorial. Building the pawn. Okay, now we're going to build the pawn.
Krimazolova 1993 said, dinner tonight is marinated turkey tips with rice pilaf.
Elder Colve House said, building pawn next.
Dunbrain 47
Yeah, that
said,
sounds good.
And Krimazolova
That sounds really good.
1993 sounds good.
Ooh, loverly.
Okay, well, this game isn't a game if there isn't some form of interaction, so we're going to build something the player can take control of, our pawn. Der bat. The bat. The pump. Doo-doo. Where did I put my
Con rice
glasses?
pilaf.
How could the glasses have gone? Oh, they're on my frickin' head. Oh, I hate that. Okay, let's build something the player can take control of, our pawn. Okay, so we're going to start by using a blueprint class, and then we'll go into
Classic.
pawn. Well, I'm not used to using glasses. You know, I prefer contacts. I actually have some really good contacts. I should have my intelligence. Remember the intelligence boy shirt? Yeah, I should add those too. Let's create a new pawn as shown above. Name it something like B pawn bat, and drop the file in an appropriate folder. So let me translate that better. Okay, so we're going to create our pawn now, and we're going to create it through a blueprint. So here's a content drawer. We don't want to use starter content. I like to create the way that Alexander did. Remember our first game? He put everything in framework. All the blueprints seem to go in framework really nicely. So now we go to blueprint class, like you said, pawn, and now we're going to call it not B, but we're going to call it BP. It's a blueprint. BP pawn bat. Okay, pawn bat. There. So that we know it's a blueprint pawn class, and then it's our bat. It's our little bat that slides back and forth. And then do you like the cute little logo?
It even has a cute pawn icon.
Okay. Remember, games tend to be content heavy, so it's good to be organized from the start. We can pop open our new actor to access the blueprint editor. We'll get into what blueprints are and how we intend to use them later in this blog, because right now our bat is a bat in name only. We need to address that. To bring it to life, we're going to use components. These are objects that can be added to an actor in order to provide specific functionality, such as movement or collision. If an actor is a car, components are the engine parts, wheels, and so on. In this case, we want to create a pawn that adheres to the following design. It has a static camera, so that the camera is always in the same place, and then it moves on the spline for easy playfield configuration, you know, like back and forth. Separate static mesh and capsule collision for easier tuning. Okay. So in other words, we're going to detach the collision from the capsule itself, or the, you know, the bat or the paddle. We're going to have the capsule, the collision, so we can move it around. To achieve that, we're going to first add a scene component. A scene is an anchor point in world space with a transform but no visual representation, to which we can attach various other components. You'll see that it's automatically parented or attached to the default scene root, making it what we refer to as a child component.
If we are all pawns in a game but the character is a knight class, is it still a pawn?
Yep, it's a knight pawn.
So you're building it like 3D models, but end result will be in bird perspective of that.
Confused yet? Yep, exactly at Mr. Milchman.
Yeah, because it really isn't. Oh, it's a 3D only engine, so you can flatten it by doing what we're about to do. So we're going to start by adding a scene. So we go into the BP pawn bat before anything. Now here's a blank blueprint, and it's a pawn. Now the reason we chose pawn instead of actor is because it has a couple of extra features that are much more useful if you're actually making a pawn. Okay, now, so here's the default scene root. And he wants us to add a scene component. Okay, add scene. There it is. This is the setup we want, but it's worth noting that components can be moved around the actor based on the needs of your design. So we're going to call this the bat anchor because it's kind of like the top level where we're going to attach the camera and the actual bat itself. Okay. As the name indicates, this is going to be the parent to various child components that make up the bat and will allow it to move independently of the game camera. The first two components we're going to add are a static mesh and some capsule collision, both attached to the bat anchor so they'll move in unison with it. We're doing this in order to keep the visual representation of the bat distinct from its actual collision. That's what I just told you. The collision we're going to tweak beyond just the paddle, so it's going to be a little different. Once added, we can customize these components with the details panel, starting by setting the static mesh to an appropriate asset and the collision type to no collision. It's because we're going to control the collision with a collision mesh. Yeah, so we're going to add static mesh. There's the static mesh, and then capsule collision, and there's our collision. But it puts it in the wrong place, so we have to put it under bat anchor. And I don't know if he shows a. No, he doesn't show a screenshot of it, but I think he does in a little while. Within the details panel, starting by setting the static mesh to an appropriate asset and the collision type to no collision. So we're going to use, it says shape narrow capsule, but I don't like how small that capsule is. So here, here's our static mesh. And then here's the static mesh. So, we could create our own, but why don't we find a capsule? Here's a narrow capsule. See, that's too small. So I like a wider capsule. There is another capsule in here. In fact, we can just do capsule. There, and see, here's a wide capsule. Oh, it's gonna have to, I guess it'll have to be the narrow capsule. Okay, narrow capsule, and then we'll just have to stretch it out. And then materials, MI bat. Well, he did that. He added that himself. But for now, we can add something instead. Like, why don't we pick something fun, like maybe concrete grime? Yeah. Oh, that looks so creepy. I mean, it looks awful, but we can fix the. See how the texture did not wrap properly? We can fix that with UV editors, but they're not in here, they're in the other place. Okay, you see what we did? I just pressed compile and save. I like to do that frequently because this is a C++ application. Everything compiles into C++.
Elder Colvey House said, everything compiles into C++.
Okay, start with tick enabled. Oh, yeah, okay, that is correct. Good. And then gravity is enabled by default, but I don't know why. Collision. Generate overlap. You know what? Let's turn gravity off because it's not going to be. Yeah, generate overlap events. Oh, we don't want generate overlap events on the mesh. Collision presets, we're changing that to no collision, remember, because we're going to handle collision differently. There. Note the collision settings. That done, we can set the capsule's collision to block all. Okay, compile, save. Now we go into capsule. Now the capsule's collision is set. See, this is the capsule over here. This is the collision. Collision alarm. Now we have to set this to block all. Is that what he used? Yeah, block all. And then also down here is continuous collision detection. Just to be careful. There it is. This is continuous collision detection. So every frame it detects if something collided with it, or if it, you know, it ran into some kind of collision. That's what that's all about. Good. Okay, with that done, we adjust the location and scale of the collision and mesh to better fit our design. So we're going to rotate everything to 90 degrees. Note that the back collision has more curve to it than the static mesh. I did this because I wanted a wider range of bounce angles than realistic collision would provide. That's why we did it. See?
1993 thought
So
it
let's
was
do
worth to
something
use
like
100
what he
points
did.
on Catapult everyone.
Okay, so the first thing we do is rotatimus, the jigamathingamus. There. I also don't like how this is anchored. I know how to fix that though. Whoops. I thought then the capsule. Ding ding ding. There. Okay, now I want the anchor to be. See, the anchor's in the wrong place. It shouldn't be on the edge. So this is how you fix it. You actually have to go back into here, and you have to drop a capsule. Is this going to work or not? I don't know if this is going to work. Let's try it. You have to go into modeling, and then you have to do anchor or pivot. I learned this from the other guy there, pivot, and then accept. Now we go back into the pawn, but there, we fixed it. We fixed it. See that? Now it's right in the center. Just where I wanted it. Good.
Elder Colvey House said, he never mentions this, but a good idea to center the pivot.
Okay, now we're going to make it look pretty much like he did. So one way is to get out of perspective.
47 said, noted.
And then go into the right. Okay, let's get things moving along here. Let's separate the capsule so we've got that.
Herr Miltenschild Said, das gut.
Here's our capsule. It's way too narrow. This is way too punishing. So let's really blow this out. See, the only problem is that the edges elongate, and you know, you could produce your own static mesh, but I would prefer to just use this. I know it looks a little weird, but there, yeah, see, that's much less punishing. Okay, now we have to, this is the collision now. Of course, it can't stay like that. We have to, yeah, let's keep it at scale 111, and then we'll control the collision properties, the actual shape of this with this. See what I'm doing here? But I want something more like this actually. Okay, now we scale it up to roughly match this. See what I did there? So if you hit the ball, If the ball hits anywhere between here and here, it will retain its angle. But if you start hitting it here, 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 it'll change the trajectory of the ball. It will change trajectory. Let's not make it too punishing. We have to turn the, yeah, I have to turn that off. Whoops. Whoops. Okay, we also have to turn this off now. It's still not quite right, is it? I think we have to stretch her out a bit. Yeah, that's what I needed to do. There we go.
Elder Colvehouse said, looks good.
So that yellow is the collision. You know, the ball will bounce off of the yellow. It doesn't matter. All this extra space down here, it doesn't matter. Yeah, ours is much nicer, I think. Okay. Next, we're going to add an arrow component. These are similar to a scene, but with a visual element that renders in the editor but not in the game. This is useful when you want to visually adjust a specific transform without the risk of debug elements showing up in game. Okay, let's get an arrow going. And the arrow is going to be where the ball spawns in. Okay, so we add an arrow component. Yeah, I don't know if we used an arrow. We did use an arrow component in Tiny Game 1, not in 2, but in 1. And it was where to initially spawn. It was the direction that your character is looking when he first spawns. That's what the arrow was. Okay, so you see clearly we have to rotate him as the Jigamus. Rotate. There. And then we'll, let's turn the grid back on. And yeah, let's have it spawn right at the bat, like that. You know, we have to tell it what to do with the arrow. So right now, we're just positioning the arrow knowing that we're going to have to use it for the bat later on. You know what I'm going to do?
Elder Colvehouse said, hey, so it doesn't spawn totally vertical.
There we go. We're going to do that. Good. Yeah, you thought you were gonna be able to break a whole line of bricks, right? Without even moving your. Not quite. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna get rid of this stupid. We haven't created a level yet. That's the goofy part. So let's get rid of this level. Well, who cares? Actually, you know, we can see the pawn right now. Ooh. But it's interesting that this hasn't been updated. And I think it's because we had, we compiled. Well, why is that? I guess now if we because we placed a different instance of this. See, it's a different instance. And now this is the corrected instance. I mean, I think that's what happened. Yeah, there's our pawn.
Crimazoliver 1993 said, at Dunbreen 47 still can't believe I got you good with the creeper zone.
Looks pretty good. And you notice how the arrow is just ever so slightly off.
Dunbreen 47 said, at Crimazoliver 1993 that was gold. I'll get a clip of that later.
Oh, was it on your stream or Sonic's stream? Which one was it? Let's see. I'm gonna catapult everyone just for the hell of it.
Profires dumped 100 points into catapult everyone.
Oh yeah, remember we also have new collision. Speaking of collision, we have the new update with Upstream Avatar. You can now create collisions on your screen, and I'll actually show you how I did it. Oh, the hide is locked. Of course it is. Yeah, that's why. Here's some sharts and giggles. Where is the collision? There it is. See what I did here? So if you go over here, this teleports you to up here, and then you drop on top of my
He was making a staircase and I played it. Reaction was priceless.
Exclamation mark bomb.
And then I added a ladder that you can't see, a one-way ladder. See, that's one way. And then whenever somebody lands on these are actually ramps now. See, so there's ramps available too. See, there's full ramp, low ramp, and high ramp. High half, low half, and then, you know, same thing. And then full ramp, and then this is just like box collision here. So it took a little bit of debugging because they kept getting stuck here, and then this was the way to debug it so that it looks like it's crawling on top of my webcam, and then of course once it falls off then it goes down. So that's how I was able to do it. That's why it looks like they're crawling around on top of my webcam. Pretty cool, huh? That's collision. We've got collision.
Spock, fascinating captain.
Elder Colvey House said, collisiongasms.
Okay, finally drop in a spline component and a camera. Okay, we're doing that now. Spline component and a camera. We're already in our pawn bat. Remember, whenever you're working on something, you have to turn the simulation off. You can't be playing the game while you're doing stuff, because you will run into problems. It's best not to be having the game running while you're developing it, right? Duh. I mean, that should be a no-brainer. And yet, I keep forgetting that. Okay, camera. Camera shake source. Oh, no. Nice try. Camera.
Graphics for avatars still showing.
The graphics for avatars are still showing? What do you mean? Oh yeah, they are. What the hell, man? Oh, because I forgot to turn it off. I have to switch to a different... There we go. Switch to a different mode.
Sans, I forgot it doesn't erase unless you switch modes.
Okay, so you see clearly
47 said, sneaky shakes.
the camera is in the wrong place. And then it said to also create a spline, and that spline is what you're going to use to tell this entire scene where the bat can move, but we have to build that logic in. It just doesn't automatically happen. See, it's like think of these as all components. It's like an endless thousands of components that you can add to your game or to your scene or anything, anything you're working on. But you then have to build the logic to tell the game mode what to do with all that stuff. Like, it doesn't know what to do with the camera. It's like, we put a camera in there. Well, who cares? We have to and then we even like the arrow is here. Well, who cares? The arrow doesn't mean anything until we assign it meaning. See? Those attack, la la la. This leaves them unaffected when our bat anchor starts to move. Oh yeah, right. We don't want the spline or the camera to be tied to the bat anchor. See, because the camera is not going to move. Boop. No. But how are we going to get that out of here, though? No. Attach. That's it. You have to attach. Okay. Attach to the bat. Now, yes. Let's make sure we got that right. It's actually hard to tell if it's lined up right. Well, it is, because it has to be one level out from the arrow in the capsule, and it is. See? So these are now no longer attached to the bat anchor, so these will always be stationary. Before we get into movement, let's move the camera so it's perpendicular to the bat anchor and tweak the field of view and aspect ratio for a passable approximation of our intended in-game view.
Elder Colvey House said, for 2D games, you have to drop the field of view to very low.
Yeah, the lower the field of view, the less you'll notice the 3D effect. Like the ones who play tested my game, they did notice that it actually is 3D still, and the 3D comes out a little bit, depending on how deep something is. But the lower you set your field of view, it's like zooming in on something with a camera, and then you have to pull the camera way back out, and then it will be less of a 3D effect. Like you don't want to have the camera right in front of the playing field and then everything looks 3D. Unless you want that effect, which we might, who knows. Let's move the camera so it's perpendicular to the bat anchor and tweak the field of view and aspect ratio. So we'll start with his settings just to get an idea. So he's showing us the camera in this one. So he says transform, the location is 3720. Let's see if that helps us out. That may or may not be what we want. Okay, then let's switch back to perspective. Now where's the camera? Well, we could just press it and then press F. That doesn't work. Oh, there it is, way back there. Okay, got it. So it's way over here. But it's still not right. It's pointing to the right. So there, he uses rotation 270. I don't know why you would do that. Why not just do -90? See, there. Look. Also, is this anchor correct? Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, the anchor's fine. I don't want this anchor to be in the center of the camera. I would rather have it be right where the viewfinder is. Yeah, there's that. And then we're really going to have to, then we want to bring it up. But how far up? Well, he says 625. Let's just try that. Yeah, see, and now it's up here, kind of looking, and you can guess what's going to happen now. We're going to build the rest of the game field, the playing field, around here, and then the camera's going to be stationary looking at it the whole time. He says field of view 25. Okay, yeah, let's do 25 and let's see where that goes. You can even project, look.
Elder Colvey House said,
that's what this
you
is.
could use orthographic and eliminate the 3D effect altogether.
I mean, it doesn't, see, look at this, ortho width, near clip plane, the far clip plane. But let's get back to perspective and then do a field of view 25. Lock to HMD. Constrain aspect ratio. The black bars will be added if the destination view has a different aspect than the camera requested. Yes, because we want those black bars. 25 degrees in aspect ratio. But it doesn't know what we want. It doesn't know our aspect ratio. Well, we're going to define that later. Not yet.
Dunbrain 47 said,
Oh.
Bomb.
maybe we do know it. This is essentially 720 by 1280. But I don't know if this is right. We might have to go back and fix that. Post-process blend weight. Yeah, I think everything else is correct. Camera mesh is the matinee cam. It doesn't matter because you're not going to see the camera. We should also set the editor play settings appropriately with a vertical layout that befits the style of the game we're making. And that's where we have to go. This is where we do it now. So we go into the, yeah, let's compile it and then save it again. Okay, now let's go into the project settings. Under play, the level editor. Wait a minute, I don't have that. We should also set the editor play settings appropriately. This is editor preferences, not project settings. Okay, there it is, level editor play. The new viewport resolution, common resolutions, phones, tablets. Mouse control, label position, top left, default. What has he got?
Hamilton Shield Said. Fortune.
Yeah, he did 720 by 1280. I actually want... Hang on a minute. Yeah, 5625. 5625. 5625. But yeah, I want 1920, 1080 by 1920. See, I was just making sure that it was the same aspect ratio, which it is.
Baby Engel.
And then the left position is something, and then the -1, -1. What? Why would he do -1,
Crims
-1?
Oliver 1993 said.
Always
Define
center the
tracking.
first viewport window to the screen. Play a new window. Always on top. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. So now the there, see, that's our screen. That's the screen right there. 1080 by 1920. Good.
Elder Colve House said, "We got our game window now."
Let me know if that music is too loud. You should hear legendary nightly chivalrous music.
47 said, nice.
This is the Guild Wars 2 soundtrack, written by Jeremy Soule and his brother Julian Soule.
Das Spielfenster.
Yeah, he hasn't written any music in years now. It's kind of like he fell from grace. There were those sexual assault, and even I think there was a rape charge too. It's unfortunate. Okay.
A little loud in some shots.
Let's try this. Yeah, it shouldn't be too loud. I mean, this should be fine right here, just like it is. Okay, now let's you know, I could turn the gain up on my microphone a little bit. Yeah, better. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not being too loud on my mic, and I turned the gain down a little bit in my VFX. So I could go into here. Yeah, I added a plugin called VST2 plugin. And I gave myself more treble. See, this is my voice as I'm talking. So -9, let's get it down to 0, back to 0. And that should actually, yeah, see, now it's actually, I'm controlling the gain in the software now. So it should be a little louder. That's, by the way, that's the VS2, VST 2.x plugin if you want to add it. It's really essentially an equalizer for your microphone. After in, it's an easy way to control equalization via software. Okay, so we have a bat that looks like a bat, but how do we get the thing to move? Well, that's where the spline component comes in. Spline defines a path in three-dimensional space, in this case, the path that we intend our bat to follow. Imagine that we're going to attach the bat to a physical rail and slide it back and forth with the mouse. Because a rail exists within Unreal 5, we can twist it into any shape we want. Yeah, you can add splines any way you like. Now watch this. Watch what he does. Whee! Now that would be fun. But we're not.
Elder Colve House said, Gersenden Heidenschaften.
Bless.
Sorry about that. Okay, we're not going to do that. This is far from the only way to move an after palm, but it's our design and allows for easy expansion and tuning later on.
Grusket.
Okay, to move the bat along the spline, we're going to need to add some logic to the actor's blueprint event graph. Now, see how he said this is far from the only way? There are hundreds of ways to move stuff. This is just one way to move things around. To move the bat along the spline, okay, we're going to have to add some logic to the actor's blueprint event graph. Before we continue, though, it seems prudent to stop and talk about blueprints, the Unreal Engine visual scripting system as a whole. It's an incredibly powerful, accessible tool designed to empower developers, allowing you to go deep into the engine without having to touch C++. So we don't have to compile code. All we have to do is keep pressing this compile button, and it does it for us. And we're not going to do any C++ code. It's all going to be blueprints and nodes like this, like what you're seeing right here. Yeah, with that in mind, let's open up the bat pawn in the blueprint editor. Okay. Well, we're already in it, and now we switch to the event graph. Okay, here is our pawn's event graph. These are, and there's three by default. So there's event tick, there's event begin play, and event after begin overlap. Those are just three starters that seem to be very common among blueprints, but we might not even use those. These come pre-placed but disabled. Yeah, unless you're connected to other nodes, of course. In our case, though, we don't need any of those, so we're going to delete them. And instead, we're going to add a handy blueprint node called a timeline. Okay, let's add timeline. There it is. Timeline! So there's our timeline. A timeline allows you to modify a variable on a curve over time. For example, scaling from 1 to 100 over 5 seconds. So timelines allow us to modify values over a defined period of time and are very flexible. They can speed up, slow down, or even run backwards, as you might have guessed. They're also what we're going to use to move the bat up and down its spline. So let's add a timeline node. Okay, we did. Double click on the, let's call this something useful, bat timeline or something. Okay, so here's our timeline. Oh shit, yeah, and then if you double click it, you actually go into the timeline construction. Yeah, so he wants us to do that now. Here's the timeline construction tool.
Elder Colve House said, we use this timeline constructor in the tiny game number 1.
Okay,
Herr Milkenschild Said, like slow time shot from Skyrim.
Yup, hee hee.
This exists as a tool, so you can close it or switch back to the event graph when you're done. Timelines run on linear tracks of a set duration, so let's add the simplest of those, a float track, which allows a floating point variable to transition between keyed values over time. And then we want a 1 second duration and 2 keys, a value of 0 at the start and a value of 0, a value of 1 at the end. Now what he doesn't say, what he doesn't tell you here, and you'll see what I mean. So we're going to add a float track, and then we're going to add a point. Like I said, we're going to add a, key, so 0, 0, okay? So there's our first one. That's 0, 0. We're going to add one more, and it's going to be 1, 1. All right, now we click zoom to fit horizontal and zoom to fit vertical. Now, everything seems correct, right? Everything seems right, doesn't it? Now, look at this. It's got a problem. And this would be a really big problem if we didn't... I didn't catch this the first time around, and it was causing... You could keep moving to the right and the pawn wouldn't move, but then if you move to the left, then the pawn would just stay there until you got back to 1. So he does point to it, but he doesn't mention it. See, you have to be watching every single little thing, and some things he explains, some things he only explains in a picture, and sometimes both are wrong, sometimes one conflicts with the other. You know, you just have to watch this damn tutorial pretty closely. Okay, let's switch to 1. There we go. We've corrected it. 0 to 1 with a total length of 1 second. There is our timeline. Good. This forms a curve that illustrates how our float interpolates between the key values, or a curve that's a straight line, but that's fine for now. Let's close the timeline editor and head back to the event graph, where we're going to drag off references to our bat, anchor, and spline, then use 3 nodes, get transform distance along spline, get spline length, and set world transform to move one along the other. So that timeline is what we're going to use to move our bat. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so we're going to drag the spline out. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was in the right place. Okay, so here's our spline. We've just created the timeline for it. Now remember, this timeline is not the timeline of the spline. This is just a timeline node that can interpret the timeline coming out of the spline. But we're going to do get spline length. Okay, there's that. And then we're going to get transform distance along the spline. There it is right there. And we're already bumping into our other flippity bobble. So let's do that. Okay, and then we also have to do, and then we have to drag the anchor into here.
Sir Fassi said, yo.
Elder Colvey House said, hi-yo.
Okay, now we've got our bat anchor, which controls the static mesh, capsule, and arrow all together. So we're going to set the world transform for this. Okay, set world transform.
47 said, hi Fassi.
There. There.
I'll take any non-copyright music.
Yeah, if any of you guys want to do anything special with the music, just let me know.
Set world transform sounds so godly.
Yeah, no, we are playing God. This is essentially the God editor. We're in God mode. But do I know exactly why we need world transform yet? Not exactly. I don't quite understand why yet. Oh, I see what he's done. He's split the structural pin. Yeah, you see what, he didn't explain that, but you have to, okay, we're going to sweep it. There, whether we sweep to the destination location, triggering overlaps along the way, and stopping short of the target if blocked by something. Yes, only the root component is swept, and check for blocking collision. Child components move without sweeping. If collision is off, this has no effect. Okay, we need to sweep then. But we're not going to teleport, that's for sure. Then your bat would be like chopping and skipping and teleporting. In fact, this is starting to make sense why we need a world transform. Okay. How does it all work? Well, if we multiply spline length by a float between 0 and 1, we get a position along the spline corresponding to the value. So 0.5, that's like the center. That's the, you know, the center of the screen. 0 is the left, 1 is the right. If we feed the result to the distance input on our get transform distance at node, it will output the transform, like the location, rotation, and scale of that specific position on the spline. Since our timeline transitions a float between 0 and 1, scrubbing back and forth will essentially move along the spline in 3D space. Note that we're using world space, meaning global rather than relative to the spline's parent actor. Returning the transform of our current position with each update. We can then connect the timeline to the set world transform, beat the transform from the spline, and plug the bat anchor in as our target. But we haven't done that yet. That's not part of it yet. Every time the time updates, it feeds new transform data to the bat anchor, in turn updating the position of all its child components, particularly the mesh and the collision, and the arrow. But the camera and the spline stay fixed in one place. Feel free to take the snippet below and paste it into your own project. Just make sure it's referencing your spline and bat anchor components.
Elder Colvey House said, he never explains how to import code snippets. Damn fuck 0 on.
Okay, so we have to do it ourselves. And it's actually better that we do it ourselves because then we learn more about it anyway. So get spline length. Okay, so we start, we attach this to event begin play.
Crimmers Oliver 1993 said, is Stephen Baronello stuck?
Oh, is he stuck?
47 said, let me see. Exclamation mark bomb.
No, not necessarily. I think some avatars just stand in
Mr.
place.
Milchmann dumped 100 points into Catapult everyone.
No, I think some avatars just stand in place.
But he does seem to be stuck, doesn't he? There. Now he's unstuck.
Hanging by a pixel.
Yeah, it was like right at the end. He was right at the end of that ramp. They tend to get stuck on the ramp sometimes, and I'm not sure why. And that would be a bug in the collision detection or collision alarms within Stream Avatar's code. And they also have other bugs like the slot machines stop showing up.
Exclamation mark slots.
The slot machines are gone. Okay, event
Bombs
begin
do not
play.
work.
Okay, we're going to attach this
On
to,
Steven.
I think, play. Yeah, okay, we attach that to play. Now, why does that say bat position on spline? Because he named it this, he named it that here. That's why. external curve, track 0. There it is right there. That position along spline. And so now we named that. I don't think, well, he called this move bat. See, but move bat, he calls it move bat here, and then down here, it just magically shows up as bat position on spline. See, so there's a lot of naming problems, see? And I named it bat position along spline, and now it shows up like that. And we connect this to a multiply, and I'll explain why we have to do that in a second. So we're going to x multiply, We have to make sure that it matches the same node as he's got, and it does. Okay, so bat position along spline. Now we have to wire that up here. Okay, correct. And now we get transform at distance along spline. Okay. And then we feed the result of this multiplication into distance. See? Now we can move these back a little bit. Yeah. Well, here, why don't we do this? Yeah, I like, it's really easy to spaghettify your damn nodes very quickly, so you want to keep them organized. You see what I'm doing? I'm just doing a little bit of organization. That's all. You fucker. There. There. Now that's a little bit better. Yeah, that's doable. Okay. Target distance, and then the return value we're going to feed. Okay, it's return value location, rotation, and scale. So we can split this pin into 3. You see what I just did? And then we set a world transform of the bat anchor itself, and that's where the world transform comes in. Transformation! There. See what we did? We also split these already, so now we just plug this into location, rotation. We don't scale it, so it's just location and rotation. Yeah, just like headphone cables. It's easy to spaghettify this thing. It's already sort of, no, it's not too bad. There's some really bad spaghetti, like the one I sent you, done, Brian. Oh God, that was spaghettified. Okay, set world transform. Yeah, sweep. Yeah, we have that set to sweep. No teleport, hit result. I think we're ready. Yeah, we've successfully constructed it. Oh my God. There's our nodes. Why don't we compile that? While it's tempting to run ahead and set up your control scheme now, it's always a good idea to stop and check if your basic logic hangs together before adding complexity. As a quick test, let's create a begin play event and connect it to the start input on the timeline.
Dunbrain47 said, a teeny welcome on it.
Oh, hey, Teeny, how did you motivate yourself while learning code progress and playing video games when I'm going to code? Because it's more fun. Because I'm not earning money from not watching my boss while learning code, so video games are getting my attention. I think you're asking, how do you motivate yourself to code?
Elder Colvey House said, do you mean, how do you motivate yourself to code?
Yeah, so let's see, now we can drop the bat in our test level. Okay, let's connect it to the start input. That means, yes, we've already done that.
Yes, sir.
Really, it's a skill that you have to be passionate about. I was already a software engineer slash coder for 25 years.
Yeah, passion is everything. Like if you want to get into game development, inevitably you're going to have to do some coding. But in this case, for this game, we don't have to code.
For this game, we don't have to code at all. We use logic nodes instead.
Yeah, this is like a visual representation of what gets compiled, and the language is C++. But we are not coding. We are applying logic by dropping and connecting nodes into place and then configuring those nodes. Okay, so we've already done that. Now we can drop that into our test level, adjust the spline to fit our space, and hit play just like so. Okay, let's see what he did. And I think the spline will show up when we drop it. Yeah, so we did that.
Okay, I understood, sir, thank you. But video games are getting my attention more than learning a programming language.
Yeah, game development is much more fun, for sure.
Okay, you see what he's doing? He's adjusting the spline in the level itself. So you don't adjust the spline here. Well, you can. I can't imagine why you wouldn't be able
No,
to.
sir, playing video games is getting my attention.
Oh, I see.
And I can't motivate myself to learn because of it.
Oh, I see. Well, that just takes discipline. It's discipline and like allocating time for each of your endeavors. That's my suggestion. Now, where's our frickin' spline here? Oh, there it is. Yeah, see, so we could start. I guess we could adjust it here. Where's the center of the spline, though? Where's the center? Spline. Yeah, I can't tell. I can't tell where the center is. Actually, it doesn't have a center. Well, let's adjust it then. Okay, let's just see what happens when we adjust it.
Yes, sir, you are right. Thank you so much for your help.
Oh, I see what it's doing. Now, this is confusing. I don't get this. And if you press this, then what happens? Oh, then that's actually the handle on one of this. See, that's the handle. So that's not what we want. And then what is this? Is this another handle? Yes, that is another handle. So we only have two. We only have two. So how do you add a node? Delete spline point, or you should be able to add a spline point. Yes, that's how you do it. See? Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay, let's get this. Okay, first of all, the spline itself is not in, it's not anchored in the right place. So why don't we just go out? We have to go out here anyway. So that it is. Here's the spline right there. So there's this, here's their spline. Let's start the spline at, okay, we have to set the anchor. Pivot to the center. Center pivot. Oh, you can't modify the built-in asset. Okay. Well, let's go to details. Let's get this to 0, 0, 0 to start with. Whoops. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the damn spline. Yeah, oh, you have to select it. Okay, okay, okay. There, now we got the spline selected. And this particular one should be 0, 0, 0, 0. Got it. And then this one should be something. I don't know what. No, not the sky sphere, damn it. Yeah, this is really screwy. And then he doesn't explain this either. See, it's like he... Yeah, but that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Okay, let's go back to it. We'll figure this out. Okay, so that's the spline point 2. We have to keep that selected. It's really easy to accidentally unselect. Yeah, here's the selected points. 0. And that's what I wanted. Okay, now the selected points is -110, 0, 0. And then this is 100, 0, 0. Okay, so we obviously want it much more than that. Let's bring it all the way to like
really get in a way.
770. Okay, so whatever it is, this should be the same. So now this should be 770. There. Okay, there's the spline. Okay, now if we press play, nothing's moving. Let's see. If he changes the spline, then what happens? Is it actually moving for him? It is moving for him. So why isn't it moving for us? Adjust the spline to fit our space. Now we can drop the bat, set it up to be easily visible to our players. Oh, from our player start. Yeah, but still that wasn't the problem. Yeah, default player start. And it's not moving.
Solver 1993 dumped 100 points into Everybody Dance.
It's not moving. What's the problem here? Okay, so let's go back into bat, compile and save. Now look at this. The spline looks different in there as opposed to here. Okay, time to get rid of all these stupid assets. Yeah, there we go. What is that? Is that the statue on the table? Get out of there. He mentioned something about timeline. Okay, let's go back to it then. Well, this is what he mentioned though. He mentioned you have to connect the create a begin play event and connect it to the start input on the timeline. That will start playing. Oh! Connect it to the start input on the timeline. He means play. He meant play, not start. Means the timeline will start playing the moment our bat pawn appears in the game world. Now we can drop the bat in our test level, set it up to be easily visible, adjust the spline, and just like so. Well, we can change it temporarily. We can change it to play from start. Let's go back. Maybe that was the wrong bat. Maybe we need... Why is this way out here? Ah, this fucking... Yeah, there's so many bugs with this damn thing sometimes, I swear. Now that's a bug. I did not do that. What in the fuck are you doing out there? It says 0, 0, 0, and it's way out here. Oh, this fucking... Yeah, it's not right. Don't know what's going on here. Okay, let's not have the bat in here at all. Okay, now we go back to our content drawer. See, I didn't have this problem before. This seems like a bug. In fact, I can't even... It's not letting me... It's not even letting me, like, move it. Okay, let's detach it. And the spline, target along spline, target return value.
Elder Colvey House said, "This shark pisses me off."
Yeah, see, it's like, we had everything set and now it's magically way over here. And what do you want me to do? What do I have to do? The location is supposed to be 0, 0, 0, and it's way over here. Okay, maybe here, let's just delete it then. If you're gonna bug out on me, we'll just blow you apart. The capsule's still there. The spline is still there. Now we just have to add our static mesh again. Static mesh. And our static mesh is going to be that narrow capsule. And it puts it way out there again. Compile successful. Why can't I move this fucking thing? Ah, this fucking engine. Here, let's close this. Yeah, whatever. Oh, it wants me to create a new level. Okay, fine. Minimal default. Now what's wrong?
Buggy engine.
Save current level. Yeah, we have to restart this.
Dunbreen47 said, "There's a bugs."
Content drawer. Yeah, everything was working fine. I didn't run into this bug the last time. And then I try to save all, and then it thinks I'm in a brand new level. This is not a brand new level. This is level minimal default. This is where we were before. Save current level as level 1. Let's just do level 1 then. And I don't like the following assets have been modified and can't be unloaded. Saving these assets will allow them to be unloaded.
Davis77057 Said, what is the best ad block for Twitch on Windows?
Yeah, please do not. There, and then it crashed. Yeah, it totally crashed on us. I mean, all we're trying to do is make a kaplipadoodle. all we're trying to do is make a simple brick breaker and it crashes on us. I mean, that's awful.
God awful bugs from hell. Thanks, Epic.
Okay, so minimal default, but I do want to save this as a new level anyway. So, oh, but it seems to know that I built a level 1. So here's our level 1. Yeah, okay, now let's go into our content drawer. I want to create a new folder called maps, and then that's where we're going to put our level 1. Move here. Good. There's our level 1, and now our framework should have the BP pawn bat.
Dunbrain47 said, epic PLS.
And it's still not, it is still in the wrong place. What in the fuck is going on here? I don't get it. Here's our static mesh. Okay, then we will create another static mesh again. I mean, how many of these do I have to create? Static mesh. There. Okay, now the static mesh seems to be movable now. And now if I change it to the narrow capsule. What is this horseshit? Narrow capsule, static pipe. Oh, it's just the static mesh itself. Okay, narrow. Capsule. I see the problem. Yep, that's the problem. It changed the mesh.
What did you do earlier when you aligned the bed with it?
Elder Colvehouse said, this stupid bug, we have to re-import the capsule mesh. Hang on.
Now how would we do that? We have to open up. Boy, the engine is not without its bugs. Another bug is that if you set it to shipping when you ship out a product, or when you, or stamp a executable version, it still prints all of the debug messages, but it's not supposed to do that. See? Okay. Okay, so we're in minimal default, which is not what I want. So that's the first thing we have to do is temporarily switch this to level 1. Yeah, here's level 1. And then level 1 there. Now it will always start in level 1. And then we have to switch to level 1. And then in starter content, there were props and then there were shapes. Yeah, see the shape cube narrow we changed, and we shouldn't have done that. It's a good way to import. Yeah, so we're going to import from our old Tiny Game 3.0 project because we have the same content. Tiny Game 3.0 backup for content, starter content, shapes. And nothing matches the search. And why is that? but we do have stuff in there. See, this was the one I did off camera. Content started. Oh, this pisses me off. What a waste of time. Content. Starter content shapes. See, here's the shape. New asset. Well, it's not aware of its own. I think for that you would have to migrate or something. I don't know. Yeah, I think we have to migrate. Okay, so we're going to have to migrate. What is this? Which one are we in, though? It doesn't. There, Tiny Game 3. Okay, so let's open up Tiny Game 3.0.
Dungeon47 said, "Hang here, folks. Just got to slog through the bugs."
Imports an asset from file to this folder. An asset. This fucking game. I mean, this fucking thing. All right, let's open up a second Unreal Engine.
Elder Colve House said, between crappy bugs and crappy tutorial, it's amazing I finished the game, huh?
Okay, so we're going to open the an older project. It's our Tiny Game 3.0, where it said usable game. Backup 5, usable game. Yeah, that was it. Okay. Hang in there. Hang in there. Okay, now we're going to take a look and see. Yeah, title screen, good. Content drawer, starter content. And here we have a shape that should be there. See, it's intact. It's intact. Wide capsule there. See, I actually changed. I must have changed this. Okay, so let's see what happens if I migrate. Does not appear to be a game content folder. Migrated content will only work properly if placed in a content folder. Would you like to place your content here anyway? Yes. Okay, so now we switch back to our Tiny Game 3 and see if it actually migrated. Shapes. Starter content. Oh, it did. It did. It did. Yeah, here it is, right there. Shape narrow capsule. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we'll just blow this out. Yeah, force delete. And then starter content, shapes, and now we put this in right into shapes. We can destroy the basic. Starter content, shapes, starter content, shape narrow capsule, move. There we go. There we see all that work just to recover that capsule. All right, so there's our Tiny Game. Now we can close this one out.
Elder Colve House said, what a mess.
Okay, so now we got that. Let's save all, and we're going to start making backups of our project too. We're going to make a full backup. They're very, very big, but you know, version control doesn't work either.
Also, the Git version control is bugged. It will destroy your project. Do not use.
Yeah, let me show you the plugin. Git version control, and it says beta, so you know right there, right off the bat, that should serve as a warning. So we are removing it. I mean, we're not going to use it anyway, but it's better not to even have it in there. Okay, now we can go back into our BP bat. There's our narrow capsule. There it is. Static mesh, narrow capsule. Now we're going to delete it just to make sure, and then we're going to create a static mesh again. Static mesh all over again. And then we're going to assign it the narrow capsule. This is just to be sure. Okay. And then remember what we did. We rotated it.
That wasted a whole 30 minutes.
Yeah, that kind of pisses me off. Okay, now we're going to alter the shape of the narrow capsule, but we're not going to change the shape of the narrow capsule itself. We're just changing the instance of it in here. Static mesh. I swear I hear a sound coming out of Unreal Engine, even though I didn't specify a sound. Okay, so how should we do this? I think what I did, I just... didn't I just do it this way? I think that's all I did before. We have to get a good perspective on this, yeah, like this. Yeah, I think this is all I did. It was just that. In fact, it was it right there. Okay, now we've got, and this should be at 0, 0, 0, which it is. Okay, now let's drop it in to our world. So you see how it starts with the spline at the default. And now if we do this and save it, and now if we go back into our pawn bat, what's interesting is that it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed this itself. So we are now, this is instantiated. It's because it's instantiated. That's the explanation. Instantiated. So let's get this over to 0. And remember, you have to select the spline to get the actual points. Selected points. Yeah, there it is. So selecto points is negative 140. So let's move it all the way to what we had before, like 770 maybe. Negative 770. And then oh, you can, there, the next spline point, and this is going to be 770. Why does this say 100? Why does it say 100? Okay, it's still not working. Now notice that even though we've stretched this out, now if we go back to shapes, see, the shape narrow capsule is still correct. And that's just how it should be. And I don't know what happened before, but we still have issues here. So if we play from start and then compile it and then press play, let's see what happens. It still doesn't happen. Yeah, nothing's happening.
Dunbrain47 said, jump.
Elder Colvey House said, something just isn't right here.
Okay, well, let's go into it and find out what's wrong. Synchronize view. So now we have to backtrack. It's probably something vague that he mentioned at one point. Did I shut down that window? Yeah, how did I accidentally close brick breakers? Yeah, when stuff like this happens, definitely don't get discouraged. You just have to slosh through it. Just keep sloshing through it until you get it. Okay, we did use CCD. You know what? We actually didn't change this. Generate overlap events. Hang on a minute. You know, we forgot to... Remember we deleted the thing? We deleted this and then we brought it back in, so we have to make sure that all these are set right now. Under collision, turn that off, and then we're doing no collision. No collision on the mesh itself, and then on the capsule it should be block all. I don't think that's going to matter, but let's see. Still not moving. Use CCD. Oh, yeah. We have to use CCD. It is. It's checked. That's the capsule. The static mesh should not be on, but the capsule's collision should be continuous collision detection. With that done, adjust the location and scale of the collision, which we did that. We added the arrow component, drop a spline in. Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, so we did all that. We did this. Okay, yeah. Add flow track. We did that. We have our timeline. Let's make sure the timeline is correct. Position along spline. That's right. Yeah, the first one is 0. Ignore time dilation. Wow. Curve flow time 1, value 1. That is all correct. See? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Close, head back to the event graph where we're going to drag off references to our bad actor. Get transform distance along spline. We did that.
Big Man Betty, Senshi said, I'm back, my damn phone froze up on me again at.
Elder Colvey House said, how our brains froze too.
Oh, coordinate space world. Is that all that was? I forgot to change it to world. Hang on a minute,
No.
let's see. No, it's still not working. Of course it isn't working. That would have been too easy, huh? Let's make it as freaking difficult as possible. And why don't you throw another 10 bugs at us while we're doing this again? Okay, yeah, along the other target. Bat anchor to the target.
Dunbreen47 said, define frozen.
Set world transform. And that's the bat anchor, yes. And the spline and the camera should be out of the bat anchor. There, we have to set the world
I will keep the
space.
stream running as long as you are streaming.
To world transform, now repeat the transform from the spline and plug the bat anchor in as our target. Now every time the timeline updates, it feeds new information, transform data to the bat anchor, in turn updating the position of all of its child components.
Get rid of 10 bugs, receive 20.
So now this should be the whole thing.
Yeah, that's every dev team. Baha.
Okay, event begin play. Let's see if we got that correct now. So at least we can bat timeline play. Okay, so now bat position along this. Oh,
Almost time for House of Dragon Vogons season finale.
DU plus Triple H. I are an idiots.
yeah, season finale tonight.
Did you solve the problem?
Yeah, season finale tonight. Wasn't last week's a great episode at Big Mama Becky 30?
Okay, let me explain what I did wrong. Boy, did I screw this up. Okay, all of these are supplemental logic. They're like data queries or data polling. However, there is a logic flow. There is a logic flow and it's serial.
It was great.
Logic flow serial in these nodes, and I forgot to wire them up. Watch this done, Brennan.
So they even have, you know, I personally think the white should be like bold. The white should always be bold like that. Okay, this is the logic flow. You know, these are supplemental data polling, but then this is the logical flow along the nodes. So event begin play, that timeline play. Guess what I forgot to do?
That's why didn't you move?
I forgot to update way over here, set world transform, because it's asking for something. So this is the data flow itself. I mean the logic flow. See, all these other nodes are data that gets pulled and added, but it's based on this. Based on this logical flow.
47
right
said,
there.
so when in doubt, the pastor is to blame.
Yep, fucker and spaghetti.
Hanky-555 said, you should pin play from start.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You know what?
Underscore 555.
He's right.
Okay.
He or she is right. The tutorial is saying press play, but that's a good point. You know, this really should have been set to play from start, and it's only temporary anyway. However, let's go. Now let's see it.
Whoever
Now
gave
let's
you
watch.
stuff, thank
Yep.
you. I'm so poor, low.
There it
I
is.
can't afford that. Whoa. Really?
Whoosh! We've got movement.
They got movement.
We've got movement. He's got movement. Do 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 do.
It's alive.
Do. Okay. You know, I want that stupid. Will you get this audio out of here? We don't care about that. Yeah, I'm getting sick of hearing that audio in the background every time I press play. Okay. So, don't forget to wire your logic up. You can have nodes all over the screen, but if you don't wire them up, then it ain't gonna work. Okay, back to our
So
bat
did you
pawn.
make this game?
Yes, Big Mama, I made it off stream once already. It was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, so at least I validated that we can get all the way through the tutorial, but it's but
Colby is
luckily
cooking this
there were a
game
lot
up.
of issues that I've worked through. It's just I didn't expect that big bug
That's
in the
cool.
engine just now, and then of course there was a bug in my own nodes right here. But see, that's what you do. You just work through it. This is the life of a game developer. The Russian game developer. Okay, getting things moving. Yeah, let's get things moving. Okay, we have a working pawn movement on the spline. Well done, us. Now here's, let me just show you something done, Brian. One funny thing we could do. We could do stuff like this. Now watch this.
You're very short.
I'm very short. Yeah, see what we can. Now watch this. Now watch. Whee! Did you see that?
We could be very, very cruel to the player here. Hee hee.
Yeah, we could do all kinds of fun stuff. See, like I can move this way out here and then have it do.
Shard not shard Ruffalo.
It still says sharp. Oh, somebody did something. Yeah, see, yeah, we could be really cruel, but we won't do that. We will be, for now, we'll keep it easy.
Herr Miltenschiezer
Yeah.
liebt Curvebad. Curvebad.
Yeah,
Exactly, ha ha ha.
Low I.
okay.
Chris Oliver 1993 said, "Whoa, Diablo."
Diabler. Yeah, oh, by the way, so anyone who's watching House of the Dragon, in the last episode, something terrible happened, but it was actually something that I'd prefer to happen at the end of the last episode.
Dunbreen47 said, "Save it for the Diablo's hard difficulty."
And last episode of House of Drachenflugen. Let's just say a Drachenflugen crashed in New King's Shartai. Crash as in literally.
Yeah, that was really good. It was actually really well done too. It was really convincing too. Okay, so back to the next module. We'll dig into the player controller and add a brain to his pawn body, allowing us to control it
That was
ourselves.
so cool. I love it.
Drakenflow can be like, "You didn't invite me, get burned."
Now we add the player controlling tool.
Yeah, he was not invited. Neither was Rhaenys. The queen who never was, Rhaenys. That's actually her dragon. But I don't want to spoil it if you guys haven't seen it. But Big Mama Becky knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Queen Rhaenys, the queen who never was.
Rein USSSS, Rectus SSS.
It doesn't help that so many names are spelled and sound almost the same.
Reg at crimes over 1993.
Okay, so back to our game. So we've got that. Now we're going to get into the next. Okay, here's the next part of the tutorial. Taking control. Yeah, this is a really long one. Look how long this goes. It's a lot. Okay, this time we learn about player controllers and game modes in order to take control of our pawn. Hey, welcome back. In the last module, we took our first step towards a playable prototype of Brick Breakers and got our own bat pawn moving across the screen. Yes, we did. Now we're going to take control of the bat ourselves with, yep, you guessed it, the player controller, the companion brain to our pawn's body. And the player controller is what accepts your keyboard and mouse input. So remember, this is a good architectural diagram. It's the game itself has the game mode and the game state. The game state is where we can store data, and then the player controller is the interface between your keyboard and mouse and the game itself, and you possess the pawn, which is our bat that moves back and forth. Don't worry about this for now. And then the player controller contains the HUD input mechanism, and then the player camera manager.
I was hoping she would accept to the Drachenflugen, the word for burn them alive. Ha ha ha.
She didn't because she's a mother too, and mother empathy kicked in. She did the right thing, but allowed the civil war to start as a result.
Herr Miltenschitzer Said, so later you need to tell every brick when disappears or there is some shot.
Yeah, there will be a separate logic flow for
Okay,
their
unlike
button.
the human brain, player controllers are actually quite simple. So simple that by the end of the module, you'll have built one of your
There
own.
is going to be some Drachenflugens tonight.
So this, see, we need to be able to move it around using the mouse. That's exactly what we're going for now. In the process, we're going to learn how to leverage the Unreal Engine gameplay framework, set up infrastructure for future development, and start to pull disparate elements of our gaming together. While this module focuses on mouse control for example purposes, the logic we create here is easily extensible from many other kinds of input devices. So updating the bat before we can dig into the player controller proper, we need to prep a few things in the bat pawn. Let's pop it open in the blueprint editor. Okay, let's pop open up our bat pawn and find the auto possess in the details panel for the auto possess settings. What? Pawn. Where's the pawn? Not one of the components. Okay, where is this? And find the auto possess, the details panel. God, this guy's awful.
I watched finale today and I expected more of it.
Oh, you already watched it, eh? Okay, where is the pawn? I don't get it. I don't get it. Let's pop it open in the blueprint editor and find the auto possess, the details panel for auto possess settings. Actor tick. What the hell is he looking at?
It's 3 AM here now.
Oh, it's 3 a.m. Right. Yeah, so you got to see it early. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know where this is. The details panel for our pawn.
I'm already in Monday.
Bat pawn. Oh god, this is annoying. And the auto possess settings. Details panel for auto possess settings. So where in the hell is this? And this is a pawn class. Yeah, native class pawn. Try changing your active filters above. I don't know what he's talking about. Class settings. It's not in the class settings, right? Class options, parent class.
Elder Colvey House said, I don't remember having this problem the first time around.
Where are these? Actor tick, advanced, gameplay, movement, mouse sensitivity. To possess a pawn is to take control of it, and we want to do that, so change it from disabled to player 1. Next we set up our timeline node, as this means by which we're moving our bat. We need to add some hooks so it can be driven by the player controller. I think he meant that we have to create a player controller. No, he says updating the bat. Let's pop it open in the blueprint editor. Well, okay, what is going on here? We opened it in the blueprint editor. There, it's at the top now.
This wasn't here a second ago. Fuck.
See, now it's here. Okay, yeah, really, these bugs are really getting to me. So anyway, we've got it. Want to do that, so change it from disabled to player 0. Okay, player 0. And that's going to be the one player. It'll automatically be possessed by the local player. Yes. Player 0, placed in world, AI controller. Good. Next we set up our timeline node. As this is the means by which we're moving our bat, we need to add some hooks so it can be driven by the player controller. We're going to do that using custom events. Blueprint event nodes you can create yourself and then activate from elsewhere. To add one, right-click on the event graph to bring up the context menu, then select Add Custom Event. Okay, so we're going to plug these in. I'm going to plug these into the timeline. So we have to add 4 custom events. Move right. Yeah, that goes into play. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop, and then move left, reverse, and then reset that, set new time. And then the new time is 0.5. Because that's halfway. That's like the center of the screen. Reset that. Okay, now that will right under here, and then that goes to set new time. We have to set the new time to 0.5. There, that's the center of the screen. Then update, and I think everything, try right-clicking. Yeah, in our case, they'll correspond to movement directions, but then we have to reference these somewhere. We're going to call reset bat from event begin play in the bat's own event graph, but everything else is going to be handled by the player controller. See, so now on event begin play, we're going to reference this, reset bat. There, good. Comment text. Now, what do you want to call this? Bat timeline logic. Okay. And that's all we have to do for that. It just calls that, and then it will set new time 0.5. Creating inputs. Now, okay, so now this is where we're going to add keyboard and mouse inputs. Okay, before we get to the controller, there's one more step we need to do. Essentially, Unreal needs to know what input devices you plan to use and how you plan to use them. So we're going to do mouse and keyboard. To provide that information, we're going to open up Edit Project Settings and go to Engine Input. Engine Input is over here. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to stick with mouse control, so let's create an axis mapping named Move Mouse. Okay, axis mapping. Move Mouse. And then tells Unreal you want to track directional input from a controller or selection of controllers. In our case, we want to utilize horizontal mouse movement to drive our bat. So it's going to be mouse X. Mouse X. And that's our bat movement. And the scale, we'll start it at 1.5 because my mouse might be a little not as sensitive as we need to. We'll revisit inputs later in the series, but that's it for now. Setting up the player controller. Now we create a player controller. Just as with the bat, we're going to create a new blueprint class, a player controller. Mine is named player controller.bat. Okay, we're going to do BP, it's a blueprint, player controller. We only have one player controller, so that's it. That's our player controller for the whole game. Okay, popping open the controller returns us to a very familiar place, the blueprint editor. Like any blueprint class, the player controller has components and an event graph rest description. Let's get to it. Before we can kaflapadoodle implement our controls, the player controller needs to know two things: that it's controlling a bat pawn and then what particular bat pawn it is controlling. To resolve that, we're going to use an onPossess event. This fires off whenever the controller possesses a pawn, which is returned as a reference by the possess pawn output. There's one problem, is it points to the degenerate pawn, not the bat itself. It means it won't be able to access the custom events. To resolve that, we'll cast that stuff into the class itself. Okay. So it's going to be event on possess, and then we have to cast to B pawn bat. Well, our bat. Event on possess. There. And then we're going to cast it to B pawn bat. Cast to BP pawn bat. You know, I use BP for blueprint. And then the possessed pawn will be passed as the object for this. And you do have to wire both of those up. Okay, and now on a quick note on how we're using casting. It's a relatively simple way for blueprints to communicate. It also creates a hard reference. What we mean here is that you're targeting a specific instance of a specific actor versus the soft reference. Yeah. Because of their specificity, hard references become null, as in pointing at an object that no longer exists, relatively easy, making them an inelegant and potentially buggy solution for large-scale inter-blueprint communication. In other words, while casting works for us here, we shouldn't use it as a crutch.
1993 said, did someone just vanquish Diablo?
Dunbrine 47 dumped 500 points into my spawn.
Elder Colvey House said, "Oh, is Diabler on the screen?"
Fresh meat.
Yeah, when we get to our ball and bricks, we'll dig further into alternate solutions. Okay, so we're casting to the BP pawn bat, the possessed pawn. See, I don't really understand why he did that though. But now we're going as BP pawn bat. Now we can implement the controls. If the cast to BP pawn bat succeeds, we drag off as bat pawn bat output and use a context to promote the result to a variable. So now we're going to promote this as a variable. And then this there. This saves the player controller from having to find or cast against the pawn in the future, assuming the reference isn't null. Like if the bat wasn't destroyed mid-game, the reference would no longer be valid.
47 said, aliens got the Diablo.
It's also worth adding a debug string to the cast failed output just to let us know if we don't have a valid bat for some reason. Okay. There. So Oshart didn't cast. There we go. We got it. Just in case it fails. With all that done, we can implement our mouse controls. So wherever the mouse moves on its x-axis, it will trigger the mouse move input event we map to it and return a value indicating the speed and direction. Positive value for right or negative for left. To receive that data in the player controller, we just need to add a mouse move input action event and grab the axis output value because this is what we named it. Okay, so input axis move.
That could be a good movie, Aliens vs. Diablo.
It's the event itself, not the function. Yeah, there it is. And then there's our axis value. It's waiting for us. Oh, damn it. On possess. Okay, and then this one's going to be called move bat. Okay, fine. It's good to have comments. Comment for this node. What do you mean? No, I didn't want that. Compare float. So this is a macro. Yeah, we have to actually run it as a compare float. And this is not math, it actually means macro there. Compare float. So this actually is a macro, and this is the macro right there.
Big Man Betty, 30 said, House of Dragon Vlogan is on now.
Elder Colve House said, macros save a lot of time and spaghetti.
Okay. So that's all this is doing. It's comparing to see if it's negative or positive. A macro is a script template you can define and call within a blueprint as if it were any other node. Upon execution, it will act as if that script is part of the event graph within which it should be called. This is super useful for snippets of code you'll reuse often. The engine comes with a ton of useful ones. You can take a look through the library, and it's really easy
I
to
will
make
keep
your
the
own.
stream running on my phone as usual.
Okay, thanks, Big Mama. Yeah, let's see. We're gonna go for a little while longer. I just want to get the the bat moving back and forth, and then we'll end for today. While we're on the topic, it's worth talking about functions, which are conceptually quite similar to a macro, but structurally different. A function is precompiled rather than added executed at runtime like a macro, but losing some of the flexibility of a macro. In this case, we're going to use a compare float macro to see whether our access variable sits in relation to 0, and then using the macro's handy multiple exit points, call the appropriate move right, move left, or stop moving event on the bat pawn. So that's what this whole thing will look like. See if it's greater than, and we're going to compare it with 0. And if it's greater than 0, we will move right. And that's the function we created. See? Target is default pawn. I don't know if that's correct, but that didn't seem right, did it? I don't know if that was right. Move right. BP pawn bat. I think that's the right one. Now it says function, move right. Input axis, move mouse, and then we're in the player controller, but see, this is where we created these, see? Move right, stop moving, move left, reset that. So let's see if these work. I think you actually have to use these, where it says the target is the BP pawn bat, not the way he did it. See, there's a lot of problems with this. Oh, that's what's going on. As BP pawn bat, get as BP pawn bat. There. And now we can move right. Nope, it didn't like that. Didn't like that at all. It liked that though. So we're going to do it like that. So if it's greater, then we have it run here. Like that, move right. See, it's an event, not a function. So his is wrong. Mine is right. And then stop moving. See, it's the only one you can select anyway. And then move left. Move left. These are simply the functions that we created, and now we're referencing them. Just like that. Shoop, and then shoop. There. wired it up. That all makes sense, right? However, when I hit play, it wouldn't work. Why not? Yeah. The sad trombone sounds. It's not working. It's not working. Because we need to assign the appropriate controller class to our player. It's using the default player controller, which doesn't contain any of our bat logic. That's where the game mode comes in. So now we have to set up the game mode. Just as with the pawn and player controller, the game mode is part of the Unreal Engine gameplay framework. It allows us to define the rules of our game, including which player controller to use. We'll be doing more work there in the future modules, but today's task is mostly setup and would be very simple. Yeah, okay, same thing. As with other framework actors, the game mode is a blueprint class. We'll quickly create one via the Add Blueprint class menu. And they call it the game mode base. Game mode base. Game mode. We only have one game mode, so that's what we're naming it, game mode. For now, we're just modifying some of the game mode's default settings, so we can just find the classes settings in the details panel, set the default controller to our new bat-oriented player controller, and save. What, you mean here? Or, no, in here. Here they are. Here's the player controller. Now we change it to ours. You see that? Blueprint player controller. Compile and save. Now let's test things out. Back in our test level, we have to bring up the world settings window and set the game mode override to our new game mode. Right, the one we just created. Oh, let's put that over here. Here's some world settings. Game mode override, there it is, BP game mode. So you see what we've done where this world setting is what determines which game mode is active. And then in our game mode, we said, hey, guess which player controller is active. We told it which player controller is active, which is BP player controller. Okay, there. Hit play and victory, we have control. Let's see if that's true. Do we have control? We do not have control. No, we don't have control yet.
Elder Colvey House said, "This is where the tutorial falls short. No, you do not have control, idiots."
You can set the default game mode and have it apply to all maps, but this is fine for now. Game mode override. World settings, player controller class. Oh, he didn't say that.
Oliver 1993 said, falls is hot.
Player controller class, BP player controller, and then we set the BP game mode. We compiled here. We saved. Whip save current level as. Save all and press play, and we don't have it. There is not control. Let's take a look at our logic again. Make sure I connected all of the logic together. Okay, input axis move mouse. Compare float. Okay, we did that. Compare with 0, 0 as BP pawn bat, which is exactly what we needed. We are moving right. We're stop moving or moving left. And those should all be correct. target, 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 input. See, this is really bugging me that these are functions. Move right. Target self is not compatible with BP pawn bat object reference. Now, why is that? Could it be that these have to be checked? Yeah, I don't know, man. We might have to look at my other blueprint if we can't get this up and running. No, that's not it. That's not it at all. With default pawn object reference. Is BP pawn bat on the bat pawn. It wouldn't work because, why? Because we need to assign the controller class, which we did. Game mode base. And we added this. Game mode base. Silly that you can't.
Herr Miltenschild Said, first one goes in input of the second box on his picture.
The first one goes in input of the second box. Let's see. Okay, what did you? First one goes in the second input. What do you mean? Here, let's see. Let's see if I did something wrong. Oh, God. Yeah. Access value has to go into input.
Elder Colve has said, "Thar, whoops."
Access in input.
You're right.
Yup, LOL.
I need you in my life now.
Yeah, that would have saved a lot of time. That was a really, I mean, I'm surprised.
Said, fixed it.
There, we got it. Okay, now the issue is that it's always moving in the same speed, okay? It's not, see what's happening? It's not actually responding to how fast I'm moving it. So we have to fix that, and that's what the next step is. We are going to fix this. We shall fix this. What should we call this? Mouse movement, or what? What did he call it? He called move bat. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay. These will be move bat. Move bat. Shloop. There. Yeah, you definitely want to keep these organized as groups. Okay, this is because we need to assign the appropriate controller class to our player. Okay, we already did that. Now, here's the problem. Yeah, he saw it, right? If we're being honest, it looks sluggish. Yeah, see, because he's got the same problem. Feels stiff. It treats the mouse as if it were a switch-based digital controller. In other words, we're ignoring how fast the mouse is moving when reading the user input and stripping all the nuance out of our control scheme, leaving the player either moving at full speed or not at all. So we're going to tune that now. Is to identify and fix issues before they become inherent to our implementation of our design. So to rectify this, we'll have a player controller tap into one of the niftier features of the timeline, the ability to modify playback speed. Given that our axis is a float that represents movement speed, and that our timeline playback speed is also set via a float, it should be too hard to have one value drive the other. So that's what we'll do. Custom event name, update timeline play rate. So that's in the bat pawn. So we have to open that up. And we're going to create a update timeline play rate. Okay. We need to find our timeline in the components section of our variables panel. Yes, each timeline is actually a component. And drag a reference from that panel onto the event graph. So we should see bat timeline. There it is right there. Get bat timeline. Okay, and then from here, you need to drag off our timeline reference and add a set play rate node. Yeah. See, he changed the name of this. He said, hey, name it update timeline play rate, but then he calls it set play rate here. See? Bad. Everything should be consistent. Okay, so there's our timeline move bat. Now I named it this. I named it this myself, so that's good. Set play rate. Yeah, there is a set play rate function. See, he has it as a function. Can be a function too, but who knows? It's going to have to be this. Yeah, set play rate. Okay, so the bat timeline should, nope, it does not go into there. Set play rate. Okay, our float output directly to the set play rate event, but dragging from the input pin is a nice shortcut. Huh? Set play rate. Dragging from the input pin. So this is what it should look like. See, and I cannot get this to connect. And then set play rate. Directly to the set play rate event. Dragging from the input pin is a nice shortcut. Oh, I see. Oh, like that. Okay, see? Okay. But I still can't get this in. And it's because this has to be an event, a call function. Like that. Like that. So the target, see, no, I still can't connect this. Set play rate, maybe this is going to have to be some kind of special. Timeline move bat. And I called it bat timeline. Okay, call function, finish func, update func. Give that timeline. See, and then it doesn't connect.
Elder Colvey House said, "This is so fucking irritating."
Play rate. Well, it's called new rate. Who knows what? Okay, let's just see here. Set play rate. Let's start over. Set play rate. Okay, so which one is the right one? Oh, under components, timeline set play rate. Components, timeline, set play rate. There. Now, let's see if we can connect it. Oh, it was the wrong function, that's all. Okay, fine. Custom event. Okay. There. And now we got it. Yes, we do. Good. Now we can compile, save, and head back to the player controller, where we're going to update the mouse movement logic to reflect the speed. Rather than use the axis value directly, we're going to drag it off and use the context menu to promote it to a variable named mouse move rate. Gives us a live reference to the axis value we can manipulate. So as the first step, you call our new update timeline play rate event from our bat pawn.
Elder Colvey House said, he switched names again. Idiots.
Okay. It's not update timeline play rate, it's set play rate. Then connect that directly to the move right event call. Leftward movement nets us negative, so we want to negate the mouse move rate in between move left and updating the play rate. So this is how it should look. With our setup, our timeline now plays back at a speed commensurate with our end user's hand movement speed. Okay, yeah, see, so you see the difference. That's what we want.
Herr Miltenschild Said, it's weird to make a tutorial which will confuse PPL more.
Yeah, Jesus. It's like 3 people wrote the fucker.
Okay, feed it. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. This is what it should look like. We're back in the player controller. See, input axis move mouse. So we're actually changing this a little bit now. Not to worry, we're still flying half a ship. Okay, so we're going to set the mouse move rate at the beginning, and we didn't do that before. Oh shit. It's moving the whole thing now.
Crimmers Oliver 1993 said, to quote Metallica, sad but true.
Dunbrain47 said, agreed.
Sad but true, yeah. Okay, now we're going to set the mouse move rate. Okay, so the axis value is now going to be the mouse move rate. How do we do that?
Orchester.
Update timeline play rate. See, why doesn't he just show the whole thing? That modifies timeline direction and speed. So how does he even make this? Set what? Set mouse move rate. Set play rate. There's a custom event. And let's see if that mouse move rate. No, that's not correct. That can't be right. Set play rate. Mouse move rate. That's not right. That's not right at all. The sequencer set play rate. And I think it's because I have to have this callable in the editor, and he doesn't tell you that. Set play rate is a custom event. Now let's get back into the player controller. And it still doesn't show up here. But if I do this, now this is my custom event. There it is. Mouse move rate. And why? See, look at this. Yeah, we have it as new rate, not mouse move rate. See, this is all screwy. And the target itself, see, it's asking for a target. So this doesn't seem right. No. How did he do that? Feed it the mouse move rate. Well, let's try something else. Boy, this is a mess, isn't it? This damn stinking tutorial, I swear. Pair float. Okay, so set play rate. Set play rate. Yeah, there we go. So it's now we're over here. That's good. Now we need our mouse move rate. But we didn't call it that. We called it something else. Set play rate. Okay. Now, where is this mouse move rate? The mouse move rate value. Don't know. I think it was play rate. No. Oh, this doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, we did that. Variables is BP pawn bat. We did that. Do we have any variables? We have those. Do we have set play rate? Set play rate. Call an editor. Yes, call an editor. And then there's BP pawn bat, colon editor. I think these all have to be colon editor. Oh, now we don't get anything. That's wonderful. Instruction script. P pawn bat. Okay, set play rate. Stop moving, move left, move right. I mean, I figured this out once before. So as BP pawn bat, yeah. This also has to go into the target of that. Good, good. Set play rate. Let's move left. Subtract. Yeah, see, so I got the subtraction going now. That's correct. Now matching function. Now we need minus. Oh, hey,
Hello,
Cherkeza.
everyone.
Hey, Cherkeza.
Elder Calve House said, hey at Cherkeza_80. We're just developing a game.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Subtract. Subtract. Oh, God.
Cherkeza_80 said, nice.
Oh, negate.
Eat, he Turkesa, wink in the hand.
Negate. Integer, maybe? That's it, negate. Okay, so we wire that up, and then we're gonna, like the mouse move rate. No, that's not it. And that's not it either.
Hello, Mr. Milchman.
Mouse move, axis value, mouse move rate. So where did we ever say mouse move rate? I think it's play rate. Yeah, that's one of those stupid things he did. Play rate. But we have to get the right one. Components, get play rate. That's not, see, it's doing that again. Let's see if that was right. Nope, that was not right. Okay, so let's actually look at his whole thing. Mouse move, multiply, mouse sensitivity. Let's open up let's see how I did it. Yeah. So this is the right way to do it. I mean, I got it right once. I can't believe I'm struggling with it. Well, it's a stupid tutorial. See, it's just got... Oh, God. What is wrong with this? No. Title screen. Yeah, Tiny Game 3.0. Tiny Game 3.0. Okay, let's look in our player controller. See how I did it. There, mouse sensitivity set. So I did get this mouse move rate, but let's find out what it's referencing. Yeah, but where is it? Oh, it's this, mouse sensitivity, mouse move rate, but he didn't, we don't have those variables yet. We do not have those variables. I must have missed something up here. Combat. Compare float. No, I don't know. Yeah, but where is the mouse move rate value? Let's see what he it's the first time he ever mentions it. We're going to drag it off and use the context menu named mouse move rate. Okay, let's see. Rather than use the access value directly, we're going to drag off it and use the context menu to promote it to a variable. Okay, set mouse move rate. Got it. Okay. Yeah, see. Promote to variable.
Planetenschild Said, Damen und Herren, it's time for.
It's time for.
Professor-80 Dampf
Oh, a battle royale.
into Battle Royale.
We're going to update the mouse movement. Rather than use the access value directly, we're going to drag off it, use the context menu to promote it to a variable. Yeah, well, how do you do that? Like that.
Krimisolver 1993
There.
said, no rigging Culvihihi.
I was about to SS hearted.
And the variable name will be called mouse move rate. That's how you do it. And now we pump that into execute. And now we have the mouse move rate. He did not tell us that. Okay, now what am I looking at? You know, let's close this so we don't get confused. And now our input is going to be that. There we go. And then the mouse move rate is now we can reference that over here. Mouse move rate. There it
Turkessa is reading my mind.
Turkessa_80 said, sorry for doing it before you did at Mr. Melchman.
Yeah, Steven won it, finally.
Elder Colvey House said, that was funny, both at the same TM. You're secretly twins.
Steven with a comeback win.
But why is it truncating? With this setup, our timeline now plays back at the speed commensurate with our end-hand user's movement. So,
Congrats, Steven.
we're taking the raw output from the mouse x-axis. It seems to process it. Yeah, in this case, we're going to add a tunable mouse sensitivity value. Multiply the axis value before you use it to mouse move rate, and then set the multiplier second input to 2 and promote that to a value named mouse sensitivity. So, okay, so instead of set, well, we don't go to set directly. Now we plug this into the first one, yes, and then promote this to a variable. which is mouse, and that's where all this stuff comes in. See? Move. Mouse sensitivity. There, see, now it's looking like his. And then we need to detach this, clunk, there. And then mouse move rate goes like that. And then la la la, no no no. Compare float, set play rate. Yeah, I don't know if all this is right though. So, the final thing looks like this. X mouse move rate, compare with less, greater than, result. Mouse move rate, truncate, I don't know why it's truncating. Negate float. That's why. I used negate integer. That would have been a disaster. Yeah, this is the right one. Now we don't need this, and this will go out to this, and we're checking the move rate, but this goes 2 places.
Herr Milkenschied Said, too many numbers, letters and spaghetti.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Mouse move. I don't know. Something doesn't seem quite right here. And also, move right. Yeah, we also have to be pumping this into here.
Crimmers Oliver 1993 said, at Mr. Milkman break now I want spaghetti.
Float, and then the result actually goes there, right? And this only happens if it's negative, and then it changes. Let's test the map and see how it shakes out. Okay. And nothing's happening. It's totally broken again. Oh, this fucking tutorial.
Elder Colveyhouse said, fuckhead, see why I want to strangle him.
Yeah, this is not working right at all. Okay, let's go backwards and see if we have everything set up properly. So here we are, back to here. Now it's axis value goes into here, and then mouse sensitivity goes into there, then we multiply it, and then out into mouse move rate. And then we set that. Compare with that, compare with this, compare with that, compare, move right, stop moving, move left. That is all correct. And then we have the mouse move rate feeding into here, and then out over to here. This really seems wrong here. Okay, we're going to have to open up my other project again, because this was actually the usable game, and see how I did it over there.
Let's open up the old project.
Here's our player controller. How did I do that? No, I had it set that way. Wait, I have a get location at spline point here. Okay, so the way I did it was like this. Here, let's switch between the two. Okay, so mouse sensitivity, axis value, mouse sensitivity, mouse move rate. Okay, that all looks correct, doesn't it? Then compare float. Then BP pawn bat, I had it going move right, stop moving, move left. Mouse move right. And then this is what? Multiply the specific value by -1, then set it. Let's see if that's correct. Multiply the specific value, the specified value by -1, then set it. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same exact freaking thing. Set, set, set. Move back. Yeah, see, and it's moving just, see, so that's what we want, and that's not what we're getting.
Elder Colvey House said, but the digital was working.
Anything else we've got?
1993 said, Ficker Scheissfurzenbrücken. A Colvey House creation.
You said, did you hear what it said when you said Fick?
Fickar Scheissfurz. Ficker Scheissfurz.
Yeah, it changes it. Okay. Ficker Scheissfurzenbrücken. Yeah, right. But yeah, the only problem is that I don't know what the hell happened here. He has a negate float, and that's correct. The value. This compare with 0.
Whoops, did I accidentally discover a new one?
And that's multiply. Multiply A by B. Target is Kismet Math Library. And that's what I did over here. Multiply A by B. Target is Kismet Math Library. We're going to have to end here. Yeah, I'm getting the feeling that we're going to have at least 3 streams.
For Brick and Breaking.
Might be
Probably
4
more.
streams because there's so many
47
problems
said,
with this.
Okay, interesting look at this charturial.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the beginning of game development. I mean, it's slow. Game development is slow, of course. I mean, we're just trying to get a little paddle to move left and right on the screen, and look how long it takes, and all the stupid bugs. But we'll get there, because I've gotten there once. We'll get there again. Okay, so if you liked this, make sure you're following me. Anyone who's here right now, if you're not following me, make sure that you do. And let's see if there's anything rateable. Yeah, I'm turning that off for a moment. And here's the end credits. Yeah, there was some interesting end credits tonight. So let us do those end credits. And then meanwhile, I'll look for something to raid. Who is
Good
raidable?
night, everybody. Wink and a heart.
Ah, East Shade Studios is offline. I would easily raid them, especially after game development. Okay, let's see who else is doing game development. Game development. Okay, let's see who else is. Open source programming. Making an MMO with Unreal 5. Ooh, now that looks good. She's making an Unreal. She's naked.
Drakessa_80 said, I will catch the stream earlier next time.
Ooh.
Elder Calve House said, there's a naked Spriggan building an Unreal Engine 5 MMORPG.
Crimmers Oliver 1993 said, I thought that stuff was banned.
Rate the naked.
Night, everybody.
She's really young too. It's she seems to have a grasp of Unreal Engine 5. Oh, we won't rate anyone tonight. That was interesting though. Okay. The next stream will probably be Tuesday.
Good
and
night,
we'll
everyone.
do